All right, so this will be the worst books I read in 2020. The weird thing about this list is that I didn't have that bad of a reading year in terms of quality of books. I don't know why last year I had such a bad time. It's probably because I was trying to read stuff that was on my shelf that I didn't know much about, and I just picked random stuff at book sales for $1, you know, because you're like, hey, I remember that book. It's a movie, or, you know, I recognize that author, or, you know, I just pick stuff at random because it's $1, you know. So, you know, last year I definitely had a really bad list. But this year it's not that bad. And I only have 5 books, and I had trouble finding 5 that weren't up to snuff. But I'm also going to do DNFs of the year. And let me be really frank when I say this. Just because I did not finish these books does not mean that I won't pick them up at another time. It's just that this year, I went a little hog wild when the library had all these books, because in my country we locked down for 3 months. And then when we reopened everything, people don't pay attention to when things reopen because, you know, they're busy with work or whatever. So when libraries reopened, no one was using them. And I was. So I was like scooping up every book left and right, and I had like 10 books on me at every time, you know, at my place, because, you know, no one's reading books. I can put a hold on everything. And sometimes I get a little overwhelmed, and if a book's not gelling with me, I'll just, you know, I'll try another time. So let's start with the DNFs of 2020, and then we'll move on to the 5 worst books I read in 2020. So the first book, I wrote them down, is Jade City by Fonda Lee. This book is an urban crime fantasy that everyone seems to love. It's about a fictional island called Kekon, or a city called Kekon. And Kekonese people, they have this special genetic ability that if they wear jade, it gives them 1 of 6 powers, or more. Sometimes they get more. And really intriguing premise, you know, like, you know, gangsters with powers. It'd be like Kung Fu Hustle, but they have powers, more so. But then when I was reading it, the characters were exactly like the ones from The Godfather. Like literally exactly the same from The Godfather. And I was really mad because they even have an adopted one that's not part of the family, but they consider him part of the family, like Tom Hagen. And then they got like the hot-headed brother, like, you know, Sonny. And then they have like the female who's doesn't want to be part of everything. Adrienne Barbeau's character, Talia. Is it yeah, Talia. And they just like, if you're gonna like copy The Godfather, be a little bit less obtuse. So I got 200 pages and I stopped. I might check it out again because people rave about Jade City and Jade War, and then Jade Empire comes out soon. The next one was The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. It was my first Joe Abercrombie book. 48 pages, I just stopped. Just wasn't getting me. I heard that his books have a lot of slow starts, but I just wasn't into it. And you know, you're exploring 3 characters. I might dive into this one again. We'll see. But I picked up some other Joe Abercrombie books instead, because I heard his standalones are better than his series. But we'll see. You know, Joe Abercrombie comes very recommended for fantasy readers, so I sort of have to try to give it a shot. The next one is Priory of the Orange Tree. I really wanted to read this one, but it got kind of pushed to the back of my TBR from the library. And, you know, it's a big book. It's like, what is it, like 1,000 pages? Or it's not light. It's a heavy read. And I got to about 48 pages when I decided I'm not going to read it at this moment because I had too many books out. So, another time. I've also heard good things about the Bone season. To Be Taught If Fortunate, the new Becky Chambers book. It's not that long. It's only 200 pages, but I really didn't like it. And I'm worried because I own a couple of her other books from the Wayfarer series, but yeah, that one was kind of boring. The Boneshard Daughter, page 52, stopped. They have 5 different perspectives by page 50, and it was really turning me off because I want to know about the Boneshard Daughter. I don't want to know about the smuggler from here, or this warrior chick from here, or the slave from here. And I guess there's like a lot of different islands in the world of this fantasy, and I don't know, man, that's just, it's book 1 and you've already, you know, you're trying to be Game of Thrones on your debut. Just didn't get me. No, that was last year. The Guest List by Lucy Foley. I grabbed this one from as a, what's it called, a speed read. You take it down in a week. I was going to read it, but stopped at page 56. Mainly because there's 5 perspectives of this book, and that's a lot of perspectives for a, you know, quick mystery thriller about a murder, you know, and the perspectives aren't very interesting, and every time you swap, I tried to give it a chance because, you know, the chapters are kind of short, you know, you're jumping perspectives. Every time they jump perspectives, it's just boring backstory. Like, I don't want to know about all this backstory. Give me some more details about the murder, because basically it literally starts like a movie, you know, beautiful wedding, everything's going great, and you hear a blood-curdling scream, and they cut to a day before, and then you're doing all this backstory stuff for the first 50 pages, and I usually give a book 100 pages, but I just couldn't get to 100 to see, because like every time you switch perspectives, you give us all this boring stuff. Like, where's the book? I'm just gonna, whose perspectives are they? You're exploring the perspectives of the bride, the +1 of her friend, the best man, a wedding planner, and the bridesmaid. And there's too many characters. Like, I don't want to know about this character's tumultuous time at school. Like, I'm probably not going to read that one. Okay, so DNFs are over. Let us begin the worst books I read in 2020. Storm of Locusts by Rebecca Roanhorse. Yeah, so this is the sequel to Trail of Lightning, a book that I thought was okay. And in this storyline, a little bit of tokenism. This one character who's like, I don't know, 15, mentions that she's bisexual or gay or something. It has nothing to do with the plot. And a lot of convenient writing. I hate convenient writing. You can't just be like, you know, oh, I escaped off screen and now I'm here. Everything's fine. Let's go. You know, like, that just bothers the crap out of me. It also feels like a YA read, even though it doesn't need to be. And mainly, the villain turns into locusts. Like, he actually turns into a swarm of locusts, and they don't explain that like, his power. I thought he could control locusts, and now he is locusts, and it just doesn't make any sense. And I think they're planning 4 books, so this one, it's enough for me, dog, and I'm not reading any more of this one. But I've heard really good things about Black Sun, so I'll check out that book, and we'll see what else she's got. But no more of the... what was it called? The Other Lands? I don't remember what the series is called. All right, the next one is The Alloy of Law by Brandon Sanderson. Yes, I do like Brandon Sanderson. I enjoyed the Mistborn first trilogy, but this one was just weird. It's takes place in a steampunk sort of future, and our main character is Wax. He is a former aristocrat turned sort of like Outlands bandit. Like, he there's like this wildlands that what's the word? He protected, I guess, from the rule of savagery with his deputy and Wayne. And Wax and Wayne are twin-born, so they have 2 powers, one based in Allomancy and one based in Feruchemy. So I already forgot their powers. Shit. I think Wax has the power to make himself heavier or lighter, and he also has the power of slowing down. No, Wayne has the power of slowing down time around him, so he can be really fast. See, I've already forgotten their powers. I only read this book like earlier in the year because a friend let me borrow it. But yeah, the book was very plot heavy. It's basically X-Men meets steampunk, a little bit of Sherlock Holmes, but not really. And there's a lot of, you know, we just shot 30 guys because we got superpowers, and, you know, interesting villain. But yeah, the dialogue was pretty crappy too. They're going for this whole like, oh chum, you know, sarcasm, because we're friends for 10 years. He's like, how dare you say that, good sir? I would never do that. Well, you know, it just felt really old-timey and fake, and I didn't buy it. And yeah, and then they leave off for more sequels. There's like 3 of them. I'm not going to read the rest of these as well. I do enjoy the Mistborn, and I'm going to, you know, his Robert Jordan books, and I'm going to get into the Stormlight Archive, but I do not like the Wax and Wayne series, and I read the first book and I did not like it, so that was number 2. Number 3 is The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. This book, I didn't really know anything about it, but Regan from Peruse Project recommended it, and the library had it, and I was like, whatever, I could go for a spooky read. It's October, And this book, it feels like a YA novel, for one thing. It's about a half-black girl living in a very pious religious community, and she's told to stay away from the woods because there are witches out there. And the witches end up, giving her power or something. I forget. Man, I only read this book 2 months ago. Something about the witches do stuff, and they're going to plague the community or something. And she's trying to stop it, but every time she goes back, the religious figure of the community is a corrupt man with multiple wives who wants to shut her up because of a secret from her past. And then this book turns into a supernatural episode at the end. There's like this huge action sequence where she's taking on witches and stuff, and it did not go in with the rest of the tone of the story, because the story was going for like a creepy, gothic, mystery thriller with supernatural elements, and then witches are coming out of nowhere and you're fighting them, and it seemed really odd. But this is a debut, so I guess I have to cut her some slack. But I was able to finish the book. It was not that bad, but it just felt like a little underwhelming. Very rushed, action-packed ending. Doesn't fit with the vibe of the rest of the book. And so that was number 3. Number 4 is The Hunger by Alma Katsu. This was one of Stephen King's one of 10 recommendations from his Chapters Indigo list. Yeah, this one was really underwhelming. It's like The Terror Light. The Terror is like a book by Dan Simmons about adding a supernatural event to a period piece event that ended in tragedy. So this book tried to do the same thing. The Hunger is about the Donner Party, and they added an element to make everything more creepy, but they really kind of didn't. And the book has a lot of characters. There's like 3 or 4, 5 main characters that they keep jumping back and forth to, but they're doing a lot of stuff happening off screen. It's not that scary. A lot of filler at the beginning of the book, because 75% of the beginning is just basically the backstories of these characters. Like, all of them have something that they want to hide from. That's why they've jumped onto this caravan, and then tragedy befalls them and they slowly get weaker. There's also a lot of bad pacing with these letters written by one of the side characters, and he goes into way too much detail for a letter. Like, you're sitting out there in the wilderness with a quill pen, and you can, obviously the letters are a good way to introduce some exposition, but way too much exposition. You can't have, who sends someone like a 7-page letter about stuff? Like, that's just unheard of. Yeah, I think that's a little excessive, right? If back in the day, pioneer days, you wouldn't write someone a 7-page letter. That just seems a little excessive. And then the ending's kind of weak as well, and there isn't much to say about this book. It just didn't chill me. It didn't have anything too scary about it. It kept trying to do the whole, man is the real horror. And I'm like, come on, man, you didn't say that. There's supposed to be something supernatural. Give me the supernatural thing. This is a fictional book. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to stay within the rules of what happened in real life. So I just felt like The Hunger didn't really, take any risks. And the author is a analyst, so I'll check out a book of hers if she does a spy thriller or something. That sounds cool. Okay, so the last book on this list is The Girl with the Clock for a Heart, which is the first book of Peter Swanson. And I really enjoyed his second book, The Kind Worth Killing, which made my best of the year list. So the fact that he can debut a novel that's part of my worst list and then do an amazing book the next year to be on my best list shows that he has a lot of range. And anyways, The Girl with the Clock for a Heart is a very sleepy thriller about a young man. Not a young man. He's an older, boring man in his 40s. He's an accountant for a magazine, and an old girlfriend contacts him for a favor, and he gets roped into this crazy scheme. And then the book sort of ends at the 250-page mark out of 300, and then it just kind of keeps going, and you're kind of like, okay, what's going on? And then I guess the author decided that, hey, this ending, this thriller is okay, but I want it to be amazing, so I'll just throw in another twist that doesn't make any sense, and then I leave the ending open-ended. And it just felt really weird, you didn't need all that. You wrote a decent thriller, end it. Don't keep going and be like, what if this happened too? And then just end it. Also, the characters are very weak. They were very thin, you know, like didn't have much motivation here or there. And yeah, that ending was pretty poor. It kind of killed the whole book for me. So those are my DNFs and worst reads of 2020. Remember the DNF list, I might go into those again. So it's not like it's just because I had too much on my plate, not because I didn't like it. Well, that's not true. In a way, I did not like them either, but I'm willing to give them a second chance. But I would definitely be wary if you're going to read any of the other 5. So until next time, keep reading.